Julie Wong is a Senior Manager of Education and Community Programs for Alzheimer Society Toronto, an organization that aims to alleviate the personal and social consequences of Alzheimer's disease and other dementias while promoting research in the field. On today's Insights, Julie touches on some hard truths a family must face when a loved one is diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
So my name is Julie Wong, and I'm the Senior Manager of Education and Community Programs at the Alzheimer Society of Toronto. Dementia, even though it sounds like a disease, it is not. It is actually a group of symptoms. So that group of symptoms is trouble with memory, trouble with various aspects of thinking. So it could be their ability to navigate, it could be their ability to communicate, but more than just the thinking, it can also include challenges in terms of regulating your behavioral response, can affect things like decision making, can affect personality. So dementia, what we say is that this big umbrella term, lots of different things fall under it. So one of the easy ways that I tend to like to explain it, like I do in the community, is think of dementia being cars. There are lots of different types of cars. There are Hondas, there are Toyotas. So when we think of dementia being that big term, there are lots of different things that fall underneath it. Alzheimer's disease is just one form of dementia, but there are other forms. There are actually over 100 different forms. And I would say Alzheimer's disease is the one that most people are familiar with. It is also the most common. About 60% of cases belong to Alzheimer's disease. There are other types. And then if we think about just Alzheimer's disease specifically, it tends to affect people ages 65 and up. But you may have people who do get it younger than 65. And so when it occurs younger than 65, we call that young onset dementia. Okay? And that's important to keep separate from early onset Alzheimer's disease or early stage. It might be someone in the early stages, but they could be 80 or they could be 40. Whereas young onset is anyone who has the symptoms or has the diagnosis younger than 65. When we think about dementia, it is a set of symptoms. So those symptoms are having trouble with your memory, but beyond the memory and thinking, it's also changes in behavior, changes in personality. And all of these changes are being caused by disorders of the brain. So Alzheimer's disease is just one example of a form of dementia. So when we're thinking about this, some of the things that families do need to keep in mind is that it is a disorder of the brain. The brain is not working the way it's meant to be working, and that these disorders of the brain are ones that are going to be progressive. So this means that things will get worse and worse and worse over time as the brain gets more and more physically affected. And so when we're thinking about things like that, family members do need to remember that right now it might be fine, but over time they will get worse and worse. And so having those conversations in terms of planning ahead, having those difficult conversations like when I am no longer able to do this, or if I'm no longer able to live at home independently, what are my wishes for the type of facility I want to be in, or some of their medical decisions. So it's really important for families to be not afraid to have those open conversations and really be able to plan ahead for those pieces. The other thing that families do want to be thinking about or keeping in the back of their mind is that as the disease progresses, it will affect the person's ability to interact with the world around them. And so that might change relationships, whether it is a spousal relationship, whether it's a child to parent relationship. Those relationships will change. But it is still possible to have a meaningful relationship. So even if they don't necessarily remember that you are their son or you are their partner, you can still have a meaningful connection, but just recognize that it might look a little bit different.